every story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV Primetime News. I am Abosede Omowi. In our major news tonight, Benin Republic President Boni Yayi promises Nigeria in a courtesy visit to send 800 soldiers to support Nigeria's war against insurgency. Also on this program, Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has outlined his ministry's priority in the engineering and rejuvenation of the power, works and housing sectors in Nigeria. Still to come tonight, more reactions continue to trail Bayelsa governorship inconclusive election. And from outside Nigeria, Paralympic gold medalist Oscar Pistorius, in a latest twist, has been granted bail after Judge Aubrey Lewaba proved he's not a flight risk. Thanks for joining us. Benin Republic is to send 800 soldiers to support Nigeria's war against insurgency. President Boni Yayi made the promise during a visit to President Muhammadu Buhari in Abuja. State House correspondent Abiola Oluwole has more.
The meeting was held behind closed doors, and after the 2-hour session, President Yayi, who spoke through an interpreter, says his country will support the ongoing war against insurgency with 800 soldiers. This, according to him, is because of the security threat posed to the sub-region by Boko Haram insurgents. He also expressed the support of his country for the anti-corruption drive of President Buhari.
Fighting Boko Haram is something very difficult because the OPEC countries, I mean, the countries that are exporting and producing the oil, are now going through oil price crisis, and it's not easy to cope with this situation. No country, no OPEC country is spared in this contest. President Buhari should always see him by his side when it comes to corruption, fighting corruption, and putting in place peace and humanity for the people.
Responding, the Nigerian president maintains that Nigeria is winning the war against the insurgents. He added that his administration will continue to sustain robust relationship with neighboring countries to boost security and economy of the West African sub-region.
Nigeria's concentric circle foreign policy is well tested, and it's absolutely necessary that we have to be in the best of terms with our neighbors. It's good for our security, it's good for our economy.
Nigeria is to host an ECOWAS summit on December 16 and 17, and according to the two presidents, efforts to extend the benefit of the Niger Basin Authority among member nations form part of the discussion. From the presidential villa in Abuja, Abiola Oluwole, CoreTV News.
The federal government is convinced that Boko Haram will not have the capacity to retake any part of the northeast by the end of December. It, however, cannot guarantee that the insurgents won't continue to attack soft targets beyond the deadline set for the military authorities. Information Minister Lai Mohammed said at a news conference in Abuja that the troops are now better equipped to win the war against insurgency. The minister, who is just back from the front lines, also spoke about the devastation in some of the towns retaken from Boko Haram. Meanwhile, the federal government is devoting 500 billion naira in the 2016 budget for social welfare intervention program. This includes school feeding program and conditional cash transfer to the most vulnerable Nigerians. An indication to this was found in the medium-term expenditure framework and fiscal strategy paper forwarded to the Senate by President Muhammadu Buhari. The MTF is expected to be considered and approved by the National Assembly before the 2016 budget estimate is presented to the two legislative chambers. Meanwhile, the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola SAN, has outlined his ministry's priority in the engineering and rejuvenation of the power, works and housing sectors. Speaking at a crowded media briefing, the minister, whose shoulders lies the critical infrastructural development of the country, says the Murtala Mohammed Airport Road in Lagos, together with other economic inclined roads, will be given priority. And the Senate says it will not tolerate any attempts to reduce the 18,000 naira minimum wage. Chairman Senate Committee on Employment, Labor and Productivity, Suleiman Nazif, told journalists that state governments should find alternative sources of revenue to keep up payment of salaries. He described the reasons given to support the proposed reduction as baseless, especially at a time the value of the naira is at an all-time low. And moving on, FCT Minister Mohammed Bello has directed chairman of the 6 area councils in the Federal Capital Territory to use a recently released federal allocation to immediately clear the pending October salaries of their staff. The minister issued the directive after the FCT Joint Account Allocation Committee JASC meeting, where 1.4 billion naira was distributed to the 6 area councils from the Federation account for October 2015. Bello advised the chairman to ensure that no staff is allowed to suffer unduly, stressing that staff salaries are expected to be paid as at and when due. The minister warns that the allocation is not meant for the award of contracts, but to pay salaries owed the staff of the area councils. The minister, however, asked the workers to be patient as effort will be made to ensure that their November and December salaries are paid on time. The FCT Permanent Secretary, Babatokpe Ajakaye, chaired the JASC meeting on behalf of the minister. Civil society groups on Tuesday picketed the National Assembly over a bill they say is designed to gag the social media. According to the protesters, the bill to prohibit frivolous petitions contravenes Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and Section 39 of the Constitution. They threaten to compel the international community to impose a travel ban on the legislators if they fail to retract the bill. Correspondent Basi Aye reports that the protesters were received by a delegation from the Senate. We now take a quick break, and when we return, we'll be bringing you more reports on CoreTV Primetime News. Do stay with us.
Whenever you recharge your Airtel line, you could win a trip to Dubai for yourself and your family members or closest pals. Win one of 60 trips for 4 to Dubai in the Airtel Red Hot promo. Now that's a trip to Dubai for 240 people. You could also be one of 60 instant millionaires. Win smartphones and airtime. Everyone's a winner in the Airtel Red Hot promo with Emirates Holidays.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
This is what the people are saying.
You don't run a big economy with generator. They need to do more in terms of energy and power.
Many things to do for this Nigeria about lights, water, and new TT.
For Nigerians that are not gullible, we know that good laws have done nothing good for this country.
Buhari won the election convincingly.
Talk to her husband that you should keep promise about what you said, and because people are watching you, you know, another election is coming.
Also, some people will stand for Yoruba land. no be strong man, you don't die.
This nation is moving forward. The best is going to take place.
The people giving voice to the voiceless.
Welcome back to CoreTV Primetime News. A quick reminder of our major news tonight. Benin Republic President Boni Yayi promises Nigeria in a courtesy visit to send 800 soldiers to support Nigeria's war against insurgency. Also in this program, Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has outlined his ministry's priority in the engineering and rejuvenation of the power, works and housing sectors in Nigeria. And still to come, more reactions continue to trail by Yeltsa governorship inconclusive election. Thanks for joining us. Most Nigerians have been speaking out against the backdrop of the declarations by the Independent National Electoral Commission on the conduct of the Kogi and Bayelsa governorship elections, which the body declared as inconclusive. The disappointment to some shows the unpreparedness of the electoral body for the contest, while others feel that it could be a threat to Nigeria's democratic development. Our correspondent Sarah Ayeku has more in this report. We'll bring you details of that in our subsequent bulletins. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has called on Nigerians to support all necessary measures to ensure free, fair and credible elections in the country, including the use of card readers and permanent voter cards. Receiving members of the newly elected Inter-Party Advisory Council Executive Committee in his office, President Buhari affirms that more work is needed to perfect the conduct of elections in the country. The president told members of IPAC that it was regrettable that the electorate in some parts of the country were deprived the use of card readers and permanent voter cards during the last general elections, despite the enthusiasm that followed their introduction into Nigeria's electoral system. The Inter-Party Advisory Council has expressed support for the anti-corruption drive of President Muhammadu Buhari. Members of the political association were at the presidential villa to show solidarity with the Buhari administration. The association of 20 registered political parties, however, wants the president to uphold the tenets of the rule of law and the fight against graft.
That every person accused should be treated as innocent until they are proven guilty, and also emphasized that the beauty of democracy is that the rule of law reigns all the time, and we are sure the president respects the rights of every citizen, but also will never ever look the other way when any citizen is found wanting in the discharge of their responsibilities.
The Ekiti State House of Assembly has received the proposed 2016 budget tagged Budget of Purpose and Strategic Transformation. While the governor dramatically passed the budget before submitting it for the Assembly, the House leadership asked the governor to include sundry packages into the budget, including furniture allowance for Assembly members. Rashid has more.
Ekiti State 2016 proposed budget Christian, purposeful and strategic transformation. The budget of 67 billion naira had over 42 billion as recurrent expenditure and 24 billion as capital expenditure. Even in the face of dwindling economy and sharp drop from last year's budget, the House still asked for packages including furniture allowance.
However, I want to make a fervent appeal that on that listed request be addressed in 2016 budget. 1. Purchase of vehicles for operational efficiency in the House. 2. Construction of administrative block to ease accommodation problem. Number 4. Landscaping of the Assembly complex to pave way for the planting of trees for beautification. And 5, furniture allowance for members.
The governor, however, took the presentation to another height as he passed the budget even before the House perusal. The budget is expected to make agriculture a priority. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ado-Ekiti.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has provided details of how former Governor of Benue State, Gabriel Suswam, and his Finance Commissioner, Omadachi Okolobia, allegedly looted the state treasury of over 3.1 billion naira. A prosecution witness and a detective with the EFCC, Junadu Said, told the Federal High Court in Abuja that his team investigated the petition dated July 14, 2015 against Suswam and his Finance Commissioner. He claimed that the former governor ordered the sale of Benue State-owned shares through Elixir Investment Partners Limited, a stock brokerage firm. The witness said the firm was instructed to pay the 9 billion naira realized from the sales of the shares into 3 different bank accounts. Another instruction was given for the payment of 1 billion to Benue Investment Properties Company's account, while the balance of 8 billion naira was paid into 2 separate accounts with the name of Benue State Ministry of Finance. However, when Elixir attempted to pay into the 2 separate accounts of Benue State Ministry of Finance as was directed, it was discovered that one of the accounts do not belong to Benue State Ministry of Finance, but belong to a private company. EFCC said the owner of the company, Abubakar Omar, confirmed to have received the money and converted it to dollars, which was delivered in cash to the first defendant at his residence in Maitama, Abuja. The matter was adjourned till January 18th and 19th, 2016 for cross-examination. Lagos State government reassured Nigerians residents of the readiness of the Governor Akinwumi Ambode-led administration to ensure the Yuletide season is devoid of traffic gridlock and criminal activities across the metropolis. Briefing journalists, Commissioner for Special Duties and Intergovernmental Relations, Sheye Oladejo, says the government is concerned about the menace which petrol tankers and other articulated vehicles have become on Lagos roads, as well as the incessant fire incidents and needless road traffic and accidents which have led to loss of lives and property. To this end, he says the state government has put adequate measures in place to ensure that residents go about their activities with much ease during the festive period, including total enforcement of traffic and safety laws. And the World Bank has given a damning report on Nigeria's fuel subsidy regime, which it says cost the country $35 billion between 2011 and 2014. It added that attempts by government to crack down on widespread fraud can lead to fuel scarcity. But lead economists of the bank emphasize that a reduction in sharp practices will lead to more Nigerians reaping benefit from subsidy on petroleum products. Correspondent Jamila Fagwa brings us the report.
The event is the launch of the 2015 Nigeria Economic Report. World Bank officials also used the opportunity to let Nigerians know the benefits of retaining subsidy on petroleum products.
We have direct benefits to firms that are able to use fuel at lower cost. We have indirect benefits as well because transportation costs, for example, depend quite a bit on fuel costs. So because of the subsidy, transportation costs can be lower. One question that in Nigeria has become increasingly important is enforcement of the fuel subsidy, because if the fuel subsidy prices are not enforced or weakly enforced, then the benefits go to the importers or traders who receive the fuel subsidy but then still are able to sell at a higher price.
The cost of petroleum subsidy, according to the bank, remains 18% of all oil revenues, as most of it goes into other sectors. But it noted that widespread corruption has made it difficult to feel the impact of the subsidy.
You see distribution to budgets under scenario 1, the burden of the fuel subsidy will grow steadily. It will go from 18% of oil revenues to 35% of oil revenues by 2018, basically crowding out distributions to budgets. Distributions to budgets will fall to 29% of oil revenues. This is maintaining these assumptions. So what's going on here? We have higher fuel demand because the economy is still growing, and a weaker Naira. They're increasing the burden of the fuel subsidy relative to still very modest oil revenues.
Foreign investors are discouraged due to uncertainty about oil markets. Also, foreign investors are discouraged due to uncertainty about the oil market. Nigeria is the 9th largest producer of liquefied natural gas in the world, yet due to gas flaring, the country loses what could have accrued to it, especially in the area of power supply. The World Bank reflects this in its 2015 Nigeria Economic Report.
So this is a considerable amount of power generation capacity stranded due to lack of gas. According to the statistics just released by NNPC, during the first 10 months of this year, 7.8 billion cubic feet of gas per day was produced, of which 13%, or 1 billion cubic feet, was delivered to the domestic market. Of the remaining amount, half was exported, and the other half was re-injected, used as fuel gas, or flared. Now, gas is flared. When gas is co-produced with oil, oil is valuable, so gas is separated from oil. Oil is always sold. But if the cost of cleaning up that gas and transporting it to the domestic market or anywhere else cannot be recovered for whatever reason, then there is no incentive for the producer to try to deliver it to any market.
These are facts and figures, but there are arguments on whether the average Nigerian is seeing the benefits. And now that government officials are working on a new budget, many are wondering whether the government will retain fuel subsidy regime. Jamil Afegwa, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The Department of Petroleum Resources, DPR, has sanctioned about 99 filling stations for committing various offenses and taking undue advantage of consumers in view of the prevailing fuel scarcity. The DPR, in a statement, noted that some of the retail outlets, aside being shut, were fined more than 100,000 naira for selling above government-approved price of 87 naira per litre for petrol. The errand stations were sanctioned according to the level of the offense they committed. Meanwhile, the federal government has ordered the Standard Organization of Nigeria to reduce substandard products to 15% by next year. The Director General of SON, Joseph Odumodu, disclosed this during 10th year anniversary of SON Conformity Assessment Program in Lagos. Odumodu said the new SON Act of 2015 that gave agencies the power to prosecute offenders can be effective if importers of harmful substandard products are prosecuted and jailed for sabotaging the economy. He added that the Act also gives the agency the power to force importers and manufacturers to create a database of every product in the market, which would be helped by the electronic product registration. We'll take another quick break, and when we return, we'll be bringing you news from outside Nigeria and from the interesting world of sport. Do stay with us.
Whenever you recharge your Airtel line, you could win a trip to Dubai for yourself and your family members or closest pals. Win one of 60 trips for 4 to Dubai in the Airtel Red Hot promo. Now that's a trip to Dubai for 240 people. You could also be one of 60 instant millionaires. Win smartphones and airtime. Everyone's a winner in the Airtel Red Hot promo with Emirates Holidays.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then News. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Glad to have you back. Now to news from outside Nigeria. Paralympic gold medalist Oscar Pistorius, in a latest twist, has been granted bail after Judge Aubrey Lewaba proved he's not a flight risk. Last week, South Africa's Supreme Court of Appeal overturned Pistorius' conviction of culpable homicide and found him guilty of murdering his girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, on February the 14th in 2013. At the hearing earlier today, the prosecution argued that Pistorius may flee to Italy or Mozambique, but the athlete's lawyer, Barry Riok, said Oscar was not a flight risk. Recall that the 29-year-old shot his model girlfriend, Reva Steenkamp, 4 times through a locked toilet door on Valentine's Day in 2013, saying he mistook her for an intruder. In the wake of the deadly California shootings, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has called for a halt to Muslims entering the U.S. Trump, in a campaign statement, canvassed for a total and complete shutdown until the United States authorities can figure out Muslim attitude to the United States. However, the White House and other Republicans have swiftly criticized Trump. A statement from the White House reads in part, Mr. Trump's comments were contrary to U.S. values and its national security interests. Another Republican presidential candidate, Jeb Bush, described Trump as unhinged, while yet another hopeful, Senator Lindsey Graham, urged all those running to condemn Mr. Trump's remarks, which they did. Meanwhile, soon after Trump's statement was released, Democratic rival Ben Carson called on all visitors to the U.S. to register and be monitored during their stay. Recall that a Muslim couple believed to have been radicalized opened fire and killed 14 people at a health center in San Bernardino last week. Saudi Arabia is hosting a 3-day meeting in Riyadh to try to unite the Syrian opposition before potential talks with the government of President Bashar al-Assad. There have been attempts to do this before, but this time, international peace efforts are gaining momentum. There is a need for the opposition to speak in one voice and present a common vision for Syria's future. The Saudi meeting comes amid international efforts to restart peace negotiations with the Syrian government, and there is a need to create a delegation to represent the opposition. Global and regional powers recently met in Vienna and agreed on launching peace talks and a political process, but there was no agreement on Assad's role in that process. Instead, they will be holding a separate meeting in Syria's northeastern province of Hasaka. And now to sports.
Power style, that's what he delivered. Here's that ball, storming, Puyol with a flying lead.
Bo taking them out in the lead.
Nigeria's Football Federation President Amaju Pinnick has charged players of the Nigeria Under-23 squad to fire from all cylinders when they clash with host Senegal in the first semi-final of the second Africa Under-23 Cup of Nations in Dakar on Wednesday. Head coach Samson Siasia believes his boys improved in their last game against Algeria by not conceding a goal, but Pinnick wants the players to show no mercy when launching onslaught and do everything to keep the rear guard tight against the rampaging Senegalese. Both teams clashed at the men's football event of the 11th All-Africa Games in Brazzaville in September, with Nigeria scoring a last-minute goal to tie the match 1-1. Meanwhile, Super Eagles manager Sunday Olise has called Gbolahan Salami, Chima Akas, and 24 others for the first phase of preparation ahead of next month's African Nations Championship, CHAN, in Rwanda. The Super Eagles have already been drawn into Group C of the competition alongside Niger Republic, Tunisia, and Guinea, with matches to be played at the state regional Nyamirambo in Kigali. Nigeria won bronze at the last African Nations Championship held in South Africa in early 2014. The fourth edition runs between 16th January and 27th February 2016. A district court in Sweden has dismissed charges of threat and assault on a police officer leveled against ex-Super Eagles midfielder Dixon Etuhu. According to reports, Etuhu was arrested along with one other person on November the 1st after allegedly being involved in an altercation with security guards and police officers outside a nightclub. The district court in its ruling dismissed the charges, stating that it was not an act of violence against the officials. And to end the news, another look at the major stories. Benin Republic President Boni Yayi promises Nigeria in a court visit to send 800 soldiers to support Nigeria's war against insurgency. We also told you that the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, has outlined his ministry's priority in the engineering and rejuvenation of the power, works and housing sectors in Nigeria. And the course of the program, we also brought to you that more reactions have continued to trail Bayelsa governorship inconclusive elections. And that's it on CoreTV Primetime News today. Do join us in our subsequent bulletins for more on our news and other stories. I am Abosede Omowe. On behalf of the crew, have a pleasant night rest.